Hello, hello, hello. This is Coach Twiggy with Twiggy Talkk. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I have a very, very special guest. This is Ma'ta Crawford. Yay! She is an angel sent from God for the community, for all, for real. I cannot wait to share her story. She cannot wait to share her story. I'm just going to let her tell us all about herself. So go right ahead. Tell us what you do and how you serve the community.
Okay. Well, my name is Ma'ta Crawford. I live in District 25 of Greenville County. And my service is, right now, my focus is on transitioning residents because we have such a high population of homelessness.
Beautiful.
And it's continuing, and the numbers are getting larger, and more people are living in hotels. I live in an area where there's 7 hotels, and it's considered the hotel hub or mega homeless hotels and names of that sort, because people are living in them, actually living in them. We have children from newborns all the way up to 99 years old living in hotels.
Wow.
I like to call them transitioning residents because they are transitioning from their last permanent stable home to their next permanent stable home.
That's right.
They face different unique challenges, so we meet people where they are. And we help them overcome those challenges to get into stable homes. I do resource events for the community. I plan those resource events and I bring the resources to the community because sometimes people are not capable of getting to the resources. So the resources, there may be 100,000 resources, but if you can't reach them, they don't really do you any good.
True. Give us an example of a resource.
Resource, say a food bank. The food bank Harvest of Hope is on Whitehorse Road. For you and I in our car, that would be a 10-minute ride. But for somebody that lives in a hotel and does not have food and need to try to go get food, they would have to get on the city bus. It would take them 2.5 hours to ride from this side of the opposite side, just one street over, which is Augusta. They would have to catch the bus over here. They would have to go downtown, transfer, get off the bus about a half a block, 2 blocks from Harvest of Hope, get their food. Then they would have to walk back down the street to catch the bus, to go back downtown, to catch the bus, to come back to this side, and then walk to their hotel. Yeah. Something that shouldn't take but maybe 30 minutes to do to get food would take them all day. Wow. So I specialize in food, housing, and transportation insecurities. A lot of people like to call our area a food desert. I think because people call it a desert means that nothing will ever grow there. So I know that things can get better. So I just, so I don't want it to be called a desert because in a desert, nothing ever grows. People don't grow, plants don't grow, children don't grow, life doesn't grow. That means you have no hope.
Wow.
So I would prefer people to call it a food apartheid because there's people in control that prevents things from happening. Wow. So we're fighting that now. Wow. So it's challenges that people face. It could be simple things like, I don't have an ID, so I can't go to work. If you move here from somewhere and you don't have an ID, you can't go to work without an ID. Right. If they were in a bad situation and they've lost everything but the clothes on their back, then that means they don't have a social security card, they don't have a birth certificate. In order to get an ID, you have to have a birth certificate, a long form birth certificate. So that means that it has to come from your area. Sometimes they don't have the money to be able to send for that one vital piece of information. So that prevents them from getting a social security card because if you go get a social security card, you have to have ID. In order to get ID, you have to have a birth certificate and a social security card. Right. So it's a vicious cycle. And so I work with the highway department to get people special IDs that will last maybe 90 days so that they'll have time to acquire the information that they need and at least they have an ID. So if they've ever had an ID in the United States and our highway department is connected to that highway department, they can look it up, they can go ahead and issue them a temporary ID, and then they can acquire their birth certificate, social security cards, and hopefully get employment that would support them.
That is so wonderful. I mean, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you do for our community. I mean, your heart is so beautiful.
Well, thank you.
And that's why I wanted you on my show, because more people need to see what most people don't get to see. The background, the behind the scenes that you're doing and God's providing for you.
Yes, He is.
And I just would love for you to walk us through your journey and just tell us, where'd this passion come from?
Well, I've always been one with a lot of passion about everything that I do. But when things affect you, and maybe sometimes that's why people don't really reach out to help, because they've never experienced it. Mm-hmm. We pride ourselves on our children not being hungry, not ever being homeless. And that's not even an issue. That's not even a thought to some people. Mm-hmm. They've never had to deal with it. Well, I used to live in most of the disadvantaged communities, the poverty-driven communities, mm-hmm. growing up myself. And we were the family in the back of the ghetto, is what I tell people, mm-hmm. because we seem to always be the poorest in the community. I was raised, partially by my grandmother, and she was much older. She didn't have her first child until after she was 40. And so she was much older when I was growing up, and sometimes we were hungry. Sometimes we were homeless. Sometimes we'd get off the bus and our stuff would be sitting on the side of the road. And I know how I felt. I know what it means to go to bed at night and not know where your next meal is going to come from. And to be a child and not have any decision-making, rights in what an adult is doing. Or my mom was having a hard time, lost her job, and couldn't afford to pay our light bill or pay our water bill or pay the rent, and we get set out. So then that would throw her behind, and we would have to go live with somebody else. And you don't get treated as well when you're having to come and stay versus you coming to visit. So a lot of things of that nature, walking most of my life, not knowing where my education was going to come from. I knew I had to have an education, but I didn't know where it was going to come from. Having to come out of high school and help take care of my little sister, and still not knowing what was going to happen. So I got married at 15 so that I could take care of my sister and I, my first marriage. And, and so things continue to happen, and you don't have anywhere to turn to. You don't know who to talk to. There is nobody that you can really just reach out to. Well, I wanted to be that person because I lived it. I've seen it. I feel it. I know it. So that's where my passion comes from. People don't see you when you don't have as much as them, because if they're able to close their eyes to it, then it doesn't exist. They get to get in their nice cars and go and get in their nice beds and everything, and they don't consider that the person that they just passed on the street is not sitting there asking for food because they don't want to work. It may be some challenges that they're facing that they can't work.
Exactly.
So that's where my passion comes from.
That is so beautiful. And your name, it's just such a beautiful name. You tell us a little bit about where Ma'ta comes from, what it means?
Well, Ma'ta started because my grandson was born 14 years ago plus, and he had 7 grandmothers. So I was like, I don't want to be a granny. I don't want to be a G-ma. I don't want to be a Gigi. I don't want to be any of that. So I had a lady in our community. Her name was Aunt Tab. Mm-hmm. And, her name was Aunt Tab. And I said, I will honor her, and he can call me Ma Tab. And so when he got about 8-9 months old, he started to call people's names. And so he could not pronounce the B on the end of tab, so it turned out Ma'ta. And so he would call me Ma'ta. And at that time, I was going through some spiritual transitionings, and I was really opening my doors and my life up to serving God in the community. And I figured out what my purpose was. So I started to do the Lord's work in the community. And I heard a pastor say one time, when God changes your game, he changes your name. So he changed my name. So then my husband started calling me Ma'ta. And then the kids in the community started calling me Ma'ta. And then so everybody would like, well, what's her name? Who is that? Call Ma'ta. That's Ma'ta. And so then I wanted to be sure that I was in line with what God's purpose for me was. So I started looking it up and seeing what it meant. And it means some nice things. So I was like, okay, God, I see you. So in some African languages, it means keeper of the village, carrier of the light. And I think in one country it means a blessing to others. So I was like, okay, God, I appreciate you.
And that is what you are.
Well, thank you so much.
110%.
So I just hope I live up to the name, live up to the purpose and the line that he's put me in. And so right now my assignment is to advocate, to consult with larger organizations that want to bring programs into communities like mine, because people have good intentions, but sometimes they'll come to our community and they'll bring socks and we need gloves, or they'll bring beds and we need couches, because they don't live the life, so they don't know. They're just doing what they think. Well, okay, I think we can do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or I think we can do this. But then when they come to the neighborhood, they want to know why it didn't go over very well, or why people didn't want to accept it, because that's not what they needed. At this point, the biggest challenge is housing. And we have a Fresh Start Village, and we focus on females over 50, because females over 50 is the largest homeless growing population in the United States at this time. Wow. Women are more vulnerable on the streets than men are. They deal with a special kind of issue when they're on the street. You're talking drug abuse. You're talking, assaults on a regular basis. You're talking getting into bad relationships. You're talking women laying in bushes, and just out there vulnerable. And they're somebody's mom. They're somebody's daughter. And I know that the fathers are fathers and their sons, but, men are a little bit more rugged than women. It causes physical health issues. They're not being taken care of. They don't have health care. So I focus on them, and what we do is that we rehab mobile homes or two-bedroom apartments that we can acquire through Community Fresh Start, and we do house sharing, because the worst thing for most women is to be lonely.
You're right.
And then you give up, and then the hope is gone, and you lose yourself. You lose yourself because you don't know who you are after you've been a mother for so many years. You've been a wife so many years, and now there's nobody and nothing. And with the pandemic, a lot of women over 50 lost their jobs because they had got to, the highest pay rate. And now people are needing workers. So it would be easier for them to fire you, let you just go, and then hire 2 younger people for half your salary. And so if you've been doing a certain job all your life, now you don't have anything, and now you've lost your home, or you're sleeping in your car. And that leads to, like I said, drug abuse. You might get a criminal record because you're sleeping somewhere on some property that you shouldn't be, or you're stealing to eat, or things of that nature. And so we focus on 50-year-olds plus. And we do house sharing. So we get you a housemaid. And so you have a bedroom, a private bedroom of your own, and the other person has their private bedroom, and then you share the other parts of the house, whatever that might be. We furnish those units. And it's a program because we give you like a house mom, or not really a house mom, but like a mentor. Nice. Someone that you can call at any time to help you navigate to get the resources that you need.
So great.
We set goals and we have rules so that everybody's being respected, protected, and trying to move on. They can stay as up to at least a year or 16 months if that's what it takes, because if you've been evicted, people won't rent to you. So if we put you in this in this situation, and you after you stay for 6 months and you pay your program fees to help support the program, then we can give you a rental record. We work directly with some landlords that say, well, hey, if you can give me 6 months where they paid on time, I might give them a chance. And so we give them that. We have resources in the community that once they get ready to leave, they have, we can reach out and say, hey, can we get a deposit and a first month rent, to help ease that so that they can buy things to go in their place. We reach into the community and collect furnishings and ask people to donate funds so that we can go and help them pick out the colors that they want to go in their bedroom. It's nothing like moving into a new apartment after you've been in the street. I have an awesome story. I was the what they call the community case management. I do community case management. Just do it. And so Greenville Homeless Allowance started about in 2018 when the first time that the economy in over here in my neighborhood shut down. It was condemned, and there was people living there. 1 bedroom had 9 children in it and 2 single moms, and they would trade off babysitting to be able to go to work. They had 1 car, 9 children, and so they got they had to leave. And I contacted a church that had a house vacant, and they let us use that and put that family in there just out of the grace of God. And they kind of got up on their feet. So now that one of the mothers is buying a home and the other one is in a stable place and have all her children back at home.
Praise the Lord.
Yes. The other story is a lady named Angela that we share her story all the time because I met her when the economy shut down again in 2021. In January, in the middle of the winter, it shut down. And so they showed up with the county and the volunteers and everybody, and they just went around and knocked on doors and said, hey, you got to leave, and you got to leave like right now. And that's that's in that hotel room is those people's lives. Some of them had been there 5 years. Some of them came back from the last time and had been there, forever because it was the cheapest hotel, but it was riddled with violence and drugs and prostitution. And, it just wasn't a good, safe living situation. So when they closed, Greenville Homeless Allowance came in and they had collected funds and everything to be able to support our efforts in the community and getting people stable. So I was the case management, the community case management. So everybody signed up with me, and we took them across town, got applications on them, seeing what their issue was, got them placed in another hotel. But Miss Angie came to me, and I actually thought she was a man when I first seen her. I seen her across the way, and I said, oh, that guy still is hanging around. He wants to talk to me, because she had on a hat. She had on a hoodie. She was closed up, and she was really portraying herself on the street as a man because she knew she was vulnerable. She's a female over 50. She had not had a place in 25 years. She's been in the streets for 25 years with no house, and she had 6 kids. She didn't get to raise any of her children because she was didn't have a stable place. She was working at one of the local hotels making $7.50 an hour. She wasn't even making enough money in 2 weeks to have a place in the hotel for a half a week. So she walked up to me and she said, hey, she said, I've been standing here watching you. She said, and she said, if you don't mind, can I be on your caseload? She said, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. She said, I promise you. Just tell me what to do, and I'm going to do it. And I worked with Angie for a while. And first of all, I moved her into a hotel to see if she was really serious. Well, she had to go to the hotel anyway because we didn't have nowhere to go. In a month's time, I got her into a transitioning house where she shares a house with 6 or 7 other women, and it's a program, and she stayed clean. She got off of drugs. She didn't have to go to rehab or nothing. She just said, I'm determined. I said, because the first thing you got to do is let the devil go. Change your people, places, and things. I say, so I'm going to help you change your location. Let's see if you can stay away from that location. I say, it's going to be up to you to change your people and the things that you do. So I moved her to the transition house, helped her got a better job downtown Greenville, making more money, which was like $9-10 an hour, and she thought that was amazing because she never made that kind of money. You know, and people can't believe that, but it's true. So we got our new job, and then I found her a place. Her first place in 25 years.
Wow.
At this moment, and we just celebrated her first year of sobriety in March. We will be celebrating at the end of May a complete year in her own place. One of her sons was unfortunately shot, and he's paralyzed, and he's been paralyzed for like 4 years.
Wow.
He was her driving force. She was like, I just got to get a place because I have a son that's paralyzed, and if I'm homeless, he's homeless. So now they live together, and we're actually trying to acquire that property for them so they don't ever have to move again.
Wow, praise the Lord.
Yeah, so now we're raising money to try to acquire mobile homes. There's a local mobile home park here in Greenville that has about 25 units on it. And we're trying to raise money to acquire that property so that we can continue our work, continue to flip those homes and put people in them that don't have anywhere else to go. Wow. Transitioning programs, some might say, emergency housing programs, some might say, but we clean them up, we fix them up, we furnish them completely. We want to be able to have a complete support staff where we can have someone on the property 24 hours, so if something arises or someone needs some help or some advice, whatever, that someone's there. And so that's what's on my heart to do now. And I'm this close. I'm this close.
We're getting closer.
Yes, we're getting closer by the grace of God.
That's right.
So I pray daily that people understand that there are people, each one of these hotels, there is at least 100 people living in them. Wow. You know, that's just on an average, 100 people at any given time living in a hotel, and there's 7 hotels here in this area. So they need food. They can use clean clothes and underwear, but a lot of people don't understand that when you live in a hotel room, your space and your ability to use some things are limited, and they'll take it because they have nothing. Right. But what they really need is the support of facing the challenges that they do that got them there. Budgeting classes, learning to re-enter themselves into a productive life. Right now, they're just surviving. Their whole day is about surviving. What am I going to eat today? Am I going to be able to pay my room today? Am I going to be safe today? And we want to move them out of the surviving mode into thriving. But you can't thrive and survive at the same time. You got to get out of the surviving mode in order to start thriving. Exactly. You're fighting every day just to eat or just to have somewhere to lay your head. We want to give people stability so that they can start thriving. Just get them on that flat ground and get their feet up under them. Right. So, because most of them want to work, but just have a lot of challenges that prevent them from working. Right. You know? So that's what I do.
Wow. And is Angie the one that I saw on your Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay. I have to share this because this is how God connected us.
Okay.
I didn't know this woman. A friend of mine named Daisha, she tagged my name on her Facebook page.
I don't know if it's Angie that you seen or Miss Doreen. I was entering into one of the units.
She was entering into the unit.
Okay, that would have been Miss Doreen.
Okay.
Angie, you have to look up Angie Harper on my page.
Okay.
And there's some news stories about her.
Great.
They did news stories. If you go to GHA, which is Greenville Homeless Allowance, you go on their page, there's lots of stories about Angie because they really supported me in getting her placed. And getting things that she needed and supporting her and making sure that we had the funds to be able to say, okay, Angie, you need a new ID. Okay, Angie, let's send off for your birth certificate. Okay, Angie. Now she has a car. She don't have a driver's license yet, but we're working on it. We're going to get those driver's license. I told her, I said, we're going to get those driver's license, girl.
That's right.
So her next day off, I think, is Tuesday. So we'll be at the DMV praying about that driver's license.
Oh, yes, I will be too.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes. So I'm just, and just in everything that I've gone through, even when we have 50 people and don't but one walk out.
Mm.
You don't know how that affects the other people's lives around them.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it if you can just get one out.
Yeah.
Because if you can get one out, then the other ones turn around and say, if they made it out,
That's right.
she made it out.
Gives them hope.
She been out here 25 years. I ain't been out here but 2.
Right.
You know, and that's that connection to that hope.
Right.
That's that connection to that hope, to that there's somebody to support. There's somebody that cares. We need to get back to Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and let people know that we care.
Yes.
That's what Jesus did. He cared for us.
That's right.
He loved us. Mm-hmm. He gave us hope.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our job as Christians to share that.
Right.
To be Christ-like. And to be Christ-like is to be our brothers and sisters' keepers.
That's right.
So sometimes I'm too good of a keeper, because I'll go get them and be saying, and you stay right here, you know, and they be saying, no, that ain't auntie, that's mama, you know, and like you said earlier, it's more like mama Ma'ta. And I'll be like, how auntie? I ain't old enough to be your mama, girl.
I love it.
But that's where my passion comes from, and I've been serving the community for 30-something years, even when my family didn't have a lot. Mm-hmm. When we had anything and someone needed it, we always still shared, because my grandmother always taught me it's better to be a blessing than to be blessed, because if you can be a blessing to somebody else, you're already blessed.
That's right. That's right. Well, we are about to wrap up, and I do not want to not get a contact. Or how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. So the email to Community Fresh Start is freshstartofsc@gmail.com. They can Google me, and they can go on my Facebook page. There's a Facebook called Community Fresh Start. We're going to have a website up by the end of the summer.
Awesome.
And so we're working on those little tweaks. You know, you have to tweak it a little bit.
Of course.
We have a PayPal account for donations.
Okay.
That is Fresh Start of SC. You know, it's paypal.me/Fresh Start of SC. Anybody can, I take messages all the time. I am Ma'ta Crawford on Facebook. So it's MA''TA Crawford. People can inbox me. People call me all the time. The number to Community Fresh Start is 864-526-1163.
Awesome.
Hopefully we and I know about your tiny home, so you know that was intriguing to me. I was like, oh, she got some tiny homes. So I do see us working together in the future.
Yes,
I want a whole tiny village.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes, because there is, you know, a whole village with a garden and a little store and some resources.
Love
and
it.
you know, just bring everything that people kind of need, like right there, and then give them the responsibility of helping keep the tiny village up. It could be self-sufficient.
Yes.
And it would give people a safe place.
Right.
And a stable place. We don't think much of it, but it would mean the world to someone that's sleeping in the woods.
Exactly.
So I hope people understand that and support you as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being on here. And if this touches your heart, you know how to reach her. She's amazing. She's just as sweet as she.
Just call her. She'll get in touch with me.
Definitely. Come reach out to me on either Facebook or Instagram, Twiggy Talkk. And thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me today. It's been a blessing.
Absolutely. Well, that was Twiggy Talkk. And if you loved what you heard, keep listening because there's more. Coach Twiggy, have a blessed day. Bye, guys.